Hello everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we're gonna talk about premiums and especially something I would love Wargaming to change about the matchmaking in general. First, I'm gonna tell you from where the concept of this video emerges. When I played my tanks, most of the time I played premium tanks. And I don't play premium tanks because I need credits. I play premium tanks because these tanks are way funnier to play than the Tech Tree ones. You will have way more fun, for example, with the Centurion Defender Mark 1 than with the regular Centurion. You will also have way more fun with a Chimera than a regular Centurion as well. And as I thought about it, I arrived to a conclusion. If these tanks are way funnier to play than the rest of the Tech Tree ones, is the game slowly becoming pay to win? Because I remember in the good old days of the game when we only had not that much premiums, we had like all the Tech Tree we already have, but the people tend not to play them as much as we play them right now. There were several, maybe Elsing and Dracula were here and the Ice 3 Defender, but that's not much if you consider that now we have nearly 3 to 4 premiums every single game. But the problem is we need a balance in this game about that. Why? Because without putting premium tanks in the shop, how is Wargaming gonna make money? I want to remind you that every time you're playing, Wargaming is not making money, okay? You don't just have to play for Wargaming to make money. If you don't spend in their game, they are winning literally nothing. That's why we have a premium tank, 1 or 2 premiums every single month. That's because of that, and it will eventually lead to the game having more premiums than Tech Tree wants. It's inevitable. It's not something you can change. That's a fact, except if probably Wargaming tries to do something different that will make us spend money. I don't know, for example, maybe some crazy attachments, something that looks like Fortnite, in my opinion, in terms of skill, etc. Maybe have some skill and attachment that are different that will allow you to get more classy tanks, or having something that makes your tank special through the eyes of a regular free-to-play player. This way, it doesn't really change the way you play. It doesn't really make you stronger, but it makes you cooler. Nothing else. So it's not really skill related. If we did that, maybe we could actually see some changes in the matchmaking, but for the moment it's not yet to come. And now, before continuing further in my idea, I want to remind you that it's really important for Wargaming to make money. If they don't make money, we have no game. But I can also understand that the more they put premiums out, the more people tend to buy it, and as in order for us to make it worth it to spend our money, Wargaming has to make these tanks good, because let's face it, if the tank sucks, you are not gonna buy it. It means that we are gonna have more and more premiums that are outperforming the Tech Tree tanks in the game. And in my opinion, that's a problem. This exact situation happened in World of Tank PC. If you play World of Tank PC right now, you have every single premium tank is better than its Tech Tree counterpart. And World of Tank Blitz, for the moment, at least at this stage of the game, is no exception. The Ice 3 is way worse than an Object 252U. The Chimera is way better than a Centurion, a regular one. Same for the Centurion Defender Mark 1. The Ice 3 Defender is way better than the Ice 3. I mean, the list goes on like that. And the problem is, if we only have better tanks that are premiums, what is going to be the point of playing the other Tech Tree tanks except grinding for the tier 10? I think even if I can understand Wargaming idea that he's probably okay, when it comes to tier 8, people tend to play more premiums because that's the best way for them to make money. Tier 8 is the best in terms of money, the credit coefficient, etc. If you want to make credits, you gotta play tier 8. But is the tier 8 and tier 7 and all the other tiers limited for the free-to-play players just for them to grind their tank? Don't they want to just have some fun at tier 7, for example, without facing a Smasher every single game, or a Dracula or an Helsing? I think it's important to ask ourselves the question, and especially for wargaming, if you kill these tiers by putting way too much premiums, it's gonna kill the game in the end. We are gonna suffer, everybody's gonna suffer from it, because we're all gonna be exhausted. Of course, there is something we can add that will limit this effect, even if most premiums are really good. We also have Tech 3 tanks that are doing a really great job. I'm thinking about the Comet, I'm thinking about the Black Prince, I'm thinking about the T150, but T150 got removed if I remember correctly. But we have several tanks that are really great to play, even if we are Tech 3 and free-to-play players. But there is still a problem. These tanks will sooner or later be power crept by a much better premium version. And that's where it becomes a problem. We can have good premiums, no problem. But if we don't have good Tech 3 tanks to at least balance these premiums, we are gonna end up in a matchmaking where everybody is playing premiums only. And it's already happening. If you check both teams on every single match I'm gonna show you here, we have at least 3 and maybe sometimes 4 premiums in each side, in each teams. And that's a huge problem, because if we are playing premiums against premiums, we're gonna be less and less players, as not everybody can allow themselves to spend money every month for a game, especially when it comes to a mobile one. But you get the spirit. I mean, if we are all playing premiums against premiums, what's the point? We don't have a point anymore. But I can understand Wargaming really struggling balancing that. They struggle because it's either they have to choose between money and the game. And if I was the developers, I will choose the money as well, because it's cool to make a game that everybody likes. But if nobody spends on it, you are gonna lose money. And that's why, in my opinion, the idea of balancing the matchmaking can be a good one, but definitely not by removing premiums, etc. In my opinion, there are 2 things Wargaming can do. The first one would be to limit the number of premiums. This way, premiums will still be broken for most of them, but we will see less and less in battle. Maybe limit them to 2 or 3 maximum per team in each games, because sometimes it happens, it's rare, but it happens to have like 6 premiums against 6 premiums and only 2 Tech 3 tanks in the whole matchmaking. That's way too much, especially for those of you playing Tech 3 tanks. And this way, by lowering down the number of premiums we are going to encounter to 3 per match, okay, it's going to take longer for you to get a match when you're playing with a premium tank in the queue. But if that's the price to pay for us to actually have a decent matchmaking and less premiums, I'm down for it. I don't know about you, but I'm down for it personally. And the second thing Wargaming could actually do, and in my opinion that's probably the best idea out there, that's why I finished with this one, it would be probably to buff these Tech 3 tanks. I want to remind you that Wargaming, with their policy, do not allow themselves to actually nerf the premiums. But even without nerfing premiums, you don't need to nerf them. You can artificially nerf them without touching them by simply buffing all the other Tech 3 tanks. That's what happened with the buff to HP of heavies, which was an amazing thing Wargaming did. I was totally down for this idea, and I still think by now that it was one of the best ideas Wargaming ever pulled out. But is it enough? Is it enough? That's the question. That's the question we all have to ask. I don't want to alarm anybody. For the moment, I still think that premiums didn't take over the matchmaking. They are close to taking it over, but it's not done yet. For the moment, we have regular matchmaking. Sometimes it happens that you have more premiums than regular Tech 3 tanks, but it's still rare. I mean, it's not 1 out of 2 games where you're gonna see premiums just be here and destroy everybody and having 6 of them in each side of the teams. But if we don't do anything about that, it will come. Because I want to remind you that every time passes, we have new players joining the game, and therefore new players that will probably first play with Tech 3 tanks. But we also have players unlocking all their tier 10s or unlocking all the branches they want, and if it comes like that, if they finally unlock everything they need and they don't need to play the other Tech 3 tanks no more, they're gonna switch to premium tanks. That's nature, that's how it works. I have everything in the game. So when I have everything in the game, what am I playing? Premium tanks only. If you take a look at my 30-day stats, 99% of the time it's me playing premium tanks. And I'm no exception or anything. Everybody will do the same. And if we have a lot of experienced players that decide to switch to premium tanks and not playing any more Tech 3 tanks because they don't need to play them, why should you bother playing Tech 3 tanks when you have premiums that make the same job but better and make credits? That's the question. Why should you play something else than premiums when you literally have everything? There is no point into Tech 3 tanks now because of this, as long as you unlocked everything, of course. I know it's only, I'm talking for 0.1% of players talking about having everything, but you get the spirit. Now, for the future, there is a much bigger problem concerning premiums. What I'm afraid of in the future, because of these tanks, is new players giving up on the game because they literally can't fight these tanks. Let me explain myself. Imagine you're a new player. You're a new player, you join the game, you grind your line from tier 1 to tier 6 quite easily, because before tier 6 I don't think we have that much broken premium tanks. And you're gonna hit tier 7 and tier 8, where we have the vast majority of premiums. Here, you're gonna join and you're gonna see, I don't know, SU-130 PM, M41 Bulldog, Chimera, Defender Mark 1s, Object 252 to use. And I don't know, just imagine you started with a shitty nation, for example, let's say the Chinese heavy tanks. So you are at the IS-2 or the 110, and you're gonna face these tanks that are better in every way compared to your tank. If that's your first time playing, you will probably giving up, and if you do, we lose a player. And if we repeat the scheme like, I don't know, 1,000, 10,000 times, we are losing players. Yes, we are making more money because we have more premiums to sell, we are putting juicy offers, etc. That's exactly what is happening right now from Wargaming's point of view. Okay, we are winning money, no problem, but we are losing players on the long run. And losing players is one of the worst way for us to keep the game alive. That's why, in my opinion, Wargaming needs to do something. They need to do something about how many premiums we can encounter. Limit them to 2, maybe 3 per game, and also buff some Tech 3 tanks that definitely need some buff. Centurion, I'm thinking about the Centurion, but there is not only the Centurion, there are other tanks, but here that's the only one I'm thinking about. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say in this video. If you have any idea, guys, on how to balance the matchmaking regarding premiums, I would be glad to hear your propositions in the comment section. Feel free to tell me, guys. It's important. I think we really need to have a discussion on this, because as an experienced player, I played the game for 3 years and I saw the changes. I saw the game switching from 2 premiums per game with all the others being Tech 3 to a game where we have teams composed fully of premium tanks. Of course, there is one thing you can't fight: the greediness of people for premiums. That's logic. The more you play, the more you are entitled to the game. The more you're entitled to the game, the more you want to play with premium tanks, or at least buy them. This video is now over. Feel free to tell me in the comments what you think about that. I would be glad to hear if you have any ideas concerning that. And I'm gonna see you soon for a future video.